Live. So welcome everyone. I was enjoying listening to that music, but we are here. It looks like Andy Marshall is in the house. Hello, Andy. Hello, Stuart Skomra. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Snehal and Tomas Lay. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining this meeting today. As a way of getting started, I'm going to launch this poll. It occurred to me that if you're under 30 years of age, you will not know the answer to this question that's just as on your screen. Where did the word slides come from? Like as sliding into your DM, direct messaging, like where did it come from? The original word of slides, like, let me see your slides, send me your slides. What do your slides look like? Let me show you some slides. Where did the term slides come from? Interesting. I'm looking at the results coming in here. So just vote on this poll. I'm going to end this poll and share results. So could you believe it? That, so the truth, you want to know the truth? Slides came from this Kodachrome carousel that you dropped in these little like cardboard slides, and they would slide in and out of the viewer. I remember that, and so that's some people think it's a microfiche viewer or PowerPoint. Microsoft did not invent the term slides. So welcome everyone. Welcome. Let me stop sharing that. And if you are here, I'm excited because we're all here together, and this is a live discussion, and I promise you that we're going to have a great discussion today, one that hopefully you'll never forget, and you'll actually take some of the ideas that we talked about today into action, into your business. On my screen, if you can see my screen here, just type in the comments. You can see the tuba, type in tuba, just so you can see this. So this is the reason why I am in the business I'm in, is of this meme right here. So much of marketing is just making a louder noise, making a bigger sign, and forcing customers to pay attention to what you have to sell. And I know that that doesn't work anymore. In a world where information is way too abundant, it's everywhere. It's information overload. This approach doesn't work anymore. And that's why I'm doing what I do. And that's why I'm here today to talk with you about a better way, the recipe, the 5-part recipe that I know that CEOs that adopt this recipe, that use this recipe, and I don't use recipe lightly. Pitch Kitchen is in the business of creating recipes specific for businesses to help you attract your ideal customer and grow your revenue. Pitch recipes, that is. Let me ask here, type in the comments, what business are you in? So just type in the comments here, what business are you in? And if you are in the LinkedIn Live, type in the comments there. I'm looking at that as well. Type in the comments, what business are you in? You never know, you might actually have an ideal customer here in this room as well. So Troy, welcome Troy. Software for healthcare providers, fantastic. Tomas, I was in real estate, wholesaling, but I had to quit after finding out it was illegal. But now I thrive to be a real estate agent. That's great. Thanks for joining, Tomas. Lay, VMS. Okay, virtual magical systems. Variable, memorable. Oh, thank you. Video managed solutions. So here's the thing about Lay. First thing off, acronyms inside baseball. Don't use them for sure. We don't like acronyms. When I say we, I'm speaking for everybody on planet Earth. But thank you. Welcome, Lay. I promise you're going to get value from this discussion today. So type in the comments now, who is your ideal customer? So you've probably given a lot of thought. You're probably up at night drinking with your friends and colleagues. I say drinking or smoking or doing whatever you do to relax. You probably give a lot of thought to who is my ideal customer, because these are the people that today in this 5-part recipe we're going to be talking about. I want you to be keeping in mind who your ideal customer is. So type in the comments, who is your ideal customer? Troy, behavioral health centers. Okay, homeowners. Okay, great. Lay, Lee. Thank you. Quick service restaurants. So is that like McDonald's, or is that like Chipotle, or is that like the mama and papa version of quick service restaurants? So like, help us understand who is your ideal customer. All of the above. Beautiful. Thank you. So welcome. So if you're joining here right now, I'm Greg Rosner, and we're going to go into the 5-part recipe that smart CEOs really use to attract their ideal customers, grow their revenue, and also align their team around a singular story. Stuart, I see automotive, aerospace, and heavy equipment manufacturers and their suppliers. Interesting. Great, great. Selling. What are you selling to them? I just want to connect the dots there. Thank you. So who is this for? This session we're having today, this event, so thank you for joining. This is not a recording. Well, it is being recorded, but if you're here right now, this is going to be a discussion. So very shortly, we're going to basically take you off of mute if you want to be, and we're going to be getting into a discussion about which aspects of this recipe that we're going to be talking about today would be most helpful for you to apply, and specifically, what will you do by Christmas in order to make some of these changes? So great, Stuart, you're selling engineering, design, synthesis software. Very cool. I have no idea what that is, but it sounds so cool. If you also think that sounds cool, type in the comments, that sounds cool. We all want to hear from Stuart what he's selling there. So who is this for? This is for CEOs who have already recognized that their marketing isn't working the way they envisioned. If you're here today, this 5-part recipe is for CEOs and business owners who sense that their current story is just not clicking. It's not resonating with your ideal customer. So like Tomas says, it sounds revolutionary. So that's funny you say that, Tomas, because I think that, well, actually, let me put up a poll here, and I'll tell you what I think. Who gets to say that your business, your solution is revolutionary, or your solution is innovative? Who really gets to say that? And so it's funny because I see so many homepages and sales pitches with like, innovative and revolutionary. And my feeling is that you don't really get to say that your solution is revolutionary, or you get, Tomas could say that about Stuart's solution, but Stuart doesn't get to say about his solution there, because why is it that, type in the comments, why is it that you don't get to say, you don't get to judge that your solution is innovative or brilliant or fantastic, or is the best ever, number one, is revolutionary, is innovative? Why don't you get to say that? Type in the comments. Why don't you get to say that about your own solution? All right, so this is for CEOs that are willing to make some changes to their stack. So who is this not for? Let me just share the results. I think you see the results there. Most of us here think your customers do get to say that, not you. Your marketing team gets to say that, but we know that doesn't work. In fact, a lot of marketing teams are paid to just blow sunshine up all over the product and how great it is. But we as CEOs know that that does not work, does it? Your parents certainly get to say that your thing is awesome, that your solution is brilliant. So let's just say flat out, parents get to say that about their kids. The kids are geniuses, all right? But we don't get to say that our products or solutions are geniuses. Andy, thank you. Because everyone believes their own product services in. Yes, of course, everyone believes that. So your customers never believe that. Absolutely. So who is this not for? So these 5 parts, thank you for joining. We're getting into a conversation here. Feel free to look at the chat and type in the question, really, who is your ideal customer? Type in the answer to that, and what business are you in? So who is this not for? This is not for folks who aren't the owners of the business or really have a stake in the business. This is not for people who want to just put lipstick on the marketing. Some of the recipe that we're going to be talking about today, it is a recipe. By the way, that's my baby in the background crying. His name is Henry. You'll see a picture of him shortly. And on my shirt, I don't know if you can see, but there's some baby puke on there from earlier today. Anyway, this is not for CEOs that just want to put lipstick on their marketing or can't or won't invest time and thinking. And I would say is not for CEOs that aren't willing to put on the chopping block what they've lived with for so long. I think you have to be willing to do that here. So welcome if you're just joining now. Thank you for joining Visar and Mark Sabatini. Welcome. Hey, Mark, what's going on? So for the folks who have just joined, type in the comments what business you're in so everyone here can see what business you're in, and also type in who is your ideal customer in the chat. Thank you. So my promise to you is we're going to talk about the recipe to how to simplify your sales message, how to facilitate an unforgettable sales presentation. And when I say unforgettable, like they'll never forget, how to stand out in a noisy market, even if you have fierce competition. And by the way, here's a hint. I think your fiercest competition is status quo. How to create the most compelling business story, even if you don't have a full-time chief marketing officer, and how to attract your ideal customers without wasting a ton of money on marketing. So this is my promise to you. If you're here for that recipe is really what we're going to give you as a takeaway. So let me put up a poll here. What is your homepage in love with? So what does love have to do with this? So we talked about how you can't say that your solution is brilliant or innovative or revolutionary or genius. You can't say that. I mean, you can, and your marketing team probably does, but nobody believes that, So that's what I'm talking about. What is your homepage like? Honestly, look at your homepage like today, like yesterday. What is your homepage in love with? Is it love with your solution, what you're selling? Is it in love with the problem that your customers have? Or what has love got to do with it? Let's see what folks here are saying. So yes, it looks like it's a mixed bag here. Some of you are admitting that your homepage is in love with your own solution. And I want to honor you for admitting that, first off, because you can't fix a problem if you don't know that the problem's there. But it looks like most of you are saying that your homepage is in love with your customer's problem. And we'll be the judge of that, by the way. We're going to take a look later and let you know our thoughts. But anyway, that's an important question to ask. So this recipe that we're going to be talking about today. Hello, Thomas, by the way. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Nice to see you, Thomas. I remember chatting with you a while back. Hello, Ren. Welcome. If you can type in the chat what business you're in, and type in also, Thomas, if you haven't done that already. Yes, you run New York DLA org as CEO. Great. Type in the comments what business you're in and who is your ideal customer. So we're going to be talking about this 5-part recipe that you're going to be using. And I just want to first level set something. So many of you here have probably read some of the same books that I have read about building a story brand from Donald Miller. This is Marketing by Seth Godin. One book I'd love to recommend is Gap Selling by Keenan. Absolutely, hands down, the best, I would say, enterprise sales book you should read. The point I'm making here, though, is many of us have read these books, but have not been able to translate what we read in these books to actual messaging in our story, in our sales presentation on our website. And so the recipe we're going to be talking about today is a recipe that will help you make that translation. Have you a sales deck that looks like this? White backgrounds, lots of text, more like a document of information, more like a proposal than a presentation. So, or have you sent out presentations and emails and don't hear anything back from people? And have you felt that? Have you been there? Then you're in the right place to have this conversation about the 5 parts. Have you seen enormous change in the world over the last 20 years about how technology is used, but the technology that you're using to create engagement in your sales presentation has not changed. And when I use the word technology, I don't just mean like PowerPoint or Prezi or Google Slides. I mean the structure of your sales presentations. Has that changed? Often that has not changed. Have you a website that uses language like this, that is in love with the solution that you sell? Software platform drives transparent, data-driven decisions to optimize the utilization. Now, I'm going to stop right there. This website was clearly in love with itself, but was glazing, like the eyes of their ideal customer were getting glazed over. So if this is you, or if you have you a website like this, you're going to be interested to understand these the 5-part recipe and applying it to your business. Here's another example of that. I'm going to use like the narrator voice here. Creating innovative workflow technologies that drive high. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. It's just, this is everywhere. This, I would say, I mean, tell me in the chat here, out of 10 business to business websites that you see, how many websites, business webs, do you see using this in love with ourselves kind of writing? My guess is, I would say this is about 5 to 6 out of 10. I'm curious what you think in the chat. So you're in the right place if you're struggling to, as it were, fall in love with your customer's problem instead of your solution. Have you been spending a lot of money on your website design and development, money on marketing, but not really seeing the sales on the heels of that? Have you a complicated sales process? Long-term sales process takes a while to get people involved, and struggling to be like, gosh, every customer is unique, every value proposition needs to be customized. Like, but yet, how is our messaging going to be simple? How is a sales deck going to have like 5 slides or 3, or God forbid, 1-slide sales deck? It's possible. How do we make it simple and really focus on conversational presentation? Have you ever had customers show up to your sales presentation and just really not clear on what you're selling? Just not clear. Like, wait, what are you selling again? Like, how is this going to work? So if that's happened to you, you are in the right place. Or have you this sort of secret desire, like, gosh, thinking to yourself, if they only can see what it could do for them, if they could only see it, like if they could only demo it. By the way, this is the biggest trap CEOs have when they are pushing their salespeople, is just demo, just show it, demonstrate how it works. It sells for itself. Those are the CEOs that they find that they're like 2 out of 10 demos and in a sale. But the CEOs that really focus their salespeople on having conversations about the top 3 outcomes that would make the biggest difference for their customer, those are the demos that win. So have you think about your competition, and you're thinking that, well, how are they even winning? Their product is so much worse than ours. Like, their solution doesn't hold a candle to ours, but they're out in front. What about, have you salespeople where they're saying different things? You've got 5 salespeople and they're saying 19 different things. So if that's your scenario, you're in the right place to talk about this recipe. Have you a pipeline that seems like it's getting bigger and bigger? And here we're on the cusp of 2020 right now. You see you've got a decent sized pipeline, but if you look at your closed deals, it's not increasing. It's flat or it's going down. You're in the right place to have this conversation about the 5-part recipe. So I think the bigger question that you should be asking yourself at this stage, since you've read all these books and you're even here today to talk about it, is, why waste your time? You're here today, you're watching this, even if this is replay, you're here right now, paying attention to this recipe because it's important. Your business is important to you. So the question I'm going to say is the biggest question to ask is, what happens if nothing happens? And I'll say, if nothing happens between now and, I'll say, Christmas, if nothing happens. And I think that's pretty much the death of a company that doesn't make changes. And I think in order to really digest this, you have to be willing to take a second look at the recipe that you've used to create your sales presentation, to create your homepage and your website. We're going to be putting on under the spotlight that recipe that you've used and contrast it with a different one today. All right, so welcome if you've just joined. Jeff Cohen, welcome. How are you doing, Jeff? So great that you're here. So everyone knows what you do, Jeff, type in the comments what you do, what type of business you're in, and who is your ideal customer, and we're going to get into it. So I think what the real problem is, we all see the world from our own eyes, and it's really, really hard, to be honest, to see the world from our customer's point of view. And that's why this recipe that we're going to be talking about today, the 5-part recipe, is born out of your customer's point of view. And I think it's just by nature, we were sort of born, and speaking of born, I have a kid in the other room. He sees the world from his point of view, not from mine. And we grow up in that state. But once you make these changes in your recipe for your business, you're going to have complete confidence in your marketing spend. You're going to double your close rate. And I know that for a fact, because the folks that we work with that use these 5 pieces of the recipe, they have doubled their close rate. The leadership team, everybody that's involved, what I call the SEAL Team 6 of the business, every key person that's involved with the business are aligned. No one's singing different songs or rogue with their approach, but everyone's aligned because everyone got to participate. Your Zoom meetings and presentations will be unforgettable because you won't have a 35-slide deck. You're going to have maybe a 5-slide deck, and it'll be much more conversational where your customers are going to be collaborating, and you will retap the joy of why you started this business in the first place. So before I talk about who I am, I want to say that here. What would you say is your biggest challenge to crushing your 2022 goals? And notice I'm missing the L there by accident. But I think you know what I mean. Who or what is your biggest challenge to crushing your 22? We all got great goals for 22. I've got goals for 2022. Is that nothing standing in your way? Perhaps your unclear sales and marketing message and story. Perhaps it's competition is the only thing standing in your way, or other priorities our customers have. And that's a huge challenge, by the way. So let me end this poll and share the results. All right, 71%, unclear sales story. So I'm really glad you're here, because that's what we're going to be talking about today in the 5-part recipe. So real quick, who am I? I sold millions of dollars worth of software and services to companies like Apple. I like to say the fruit company in California, but also Texas Instruments. I even sold to IBM. Imagine that. And I think I started this business because of that tuba picture. You know, the picture of the girl blowing the tuba, is that the sales presentations that I was using to conduct, 8-figure deals over 9 months with 14 people, those slide decks did not work. There were slide decks with logos and how great our product is. There were slide decks that were in love with this company, and that didn't work. So as a side hustle, I said, you know what, I'm going to design my own decks. And I was winning with those. And my sales team wanted them too, designed it for them. They were winning. And then I started a side hustle on the side, building sales presentations. And I'm like, you know what, I'm making more money doing that than selling enterprise software. So I started Pitch Kitchen about 5 years ago. So I have literally worked on more than 2,000 presentations, more than 2,000. And I have seen a pattern of what works and what doesn't work in creating unforgettable engagement with customers. And I've also trained salespeople on the new 12 conversational model that I'll be talking about today. And I've gotten results, really great feedback. I've got customers, gratefully, that have adopted this 5-part recipe. And on LinkedIn, by the way, you can actually see like a star rating, like an Uber driver, star rating of people and companies. So that's out there, by the way. So I mentioned to you that I have baby puke on my shirt, and that's true. Hopefully you don't see it, but my baby there in the picture is just 3 months old. Yes, it's a pandemic baby, but I got married during the pandemic. to a new wife. My previous wife, I had 2 children, and they're in college, just so you know. There's a picture of my wife and my son Noah, my daughter Grace, and the baby in my arms is Henry. I just want to say, like, who am I, since we're all sort of post-COVID and real with each other. So let's get on to the 5-part recipe, and that's why you guys are here. So let us, okay, you can see my screen. Let's start with the first one. The first part of the recipe is to lead a rebellion. So this is pretty strong language. Like, the rebellions are typically like bad things. Like, don't rock the boat. Actually, it just occurred to me, a rebellion is rocking the boat. A rebellion is rebelling against the status quo. And getting back to what we said before, if you believe that you have a solution that is revolutionary, you can't say it, but you believe it. You believe that your solution is so innovative that you should be leading a rebellion against the status quo. So in this model here, the first aspect of this recipe is to lead a rebellion. Your real competitor is your customer's fear of change, of the status quo. So there's a great book, by the way, to read, The 3-Word Rebellion by Dr. Michelle Mazur. Just kudos to her and credit to her in really carving clarity around writing what a rebellion looks like. So every great CEO espouses a contrarian ideology. So if you're helping your clients rebel against the status quo with your innovation, your revolutionary thing, what was it in the chat here, Stuart? You said you were selling a, where is it? Yes, engineering, design, synthesis software. Sounds innovative, sounds revolutionary. So what is your contrarian ideology? So feel free to give us some thought, Stuart, and type it in the comments. What's your contrarian ideology that you are calling your people to recognize? So if you sell an innovation, you need to be rebelling against the status quo. So here's Simon Sinek. I'm a big fan of his writing. If you read his books and followed his stuff, well, thank you, Thomas. He wrote here, in order to stand out, we have to know what we stand for. And my call to you in taking this further in the recipe is you should stand for a rebellion. You're rebelling against the status quo. I mean, look what Steve Jobs did with thinking different. Look what Mark Benioff did with Salesforce.com. He was rebelling against this idea of software. No more software. Put everything should be in the cloud, and that's not specifically what Salesforce.com was, but it was a rebellion that he was all in. That is great for business. So Udi from Gong is saying here, being polarizing is great for business. So type in the comments. Think about what are you rebelling against? Give this some thought. Type in the comments. What are you rebelling against? And this will make up the first part of your recipe. What are you really selling? So of course, you're selling a solution. You're selling services. You're selling technology. But it's not a noun, it's a verb. People aren't buying software. They're buying what the software does. So your solution is along the path. You're selling something along the path that helps your customers go from their current state, their current world, to where they want to go. So back to the rebellion, you need to tune into, for yourself and in your messaging, for your customers, for your team, what are you really selling and what is your rebelling? Stuart saying, rebelling against computers doing nothing for engineering designers. Most of all, computer-aided engineering software team simulates. Got it. Computer actually does nothing for the designing engineer. I like that. So my challenge to you, Stuart, is what is you rebelling against in 3 words? 3, not 21 and 2 sentences. What is your 3-word rebellion? What is your 4-word rebellion? A man got elected president to the United States of America because of 4 words. And he wasn't just saying, elect me, Donald Trump, although he did say that. I think his campaign was saying, make America great again. Whether you love or hate Donald Trump, we're analyzing the recipe for great marketing. Okay, that's what we're calling out here, the recipe for great sales enablement and marketing. Simon Sinek, start with why. ReadyWorks, partner with the patients is Medicine X. Thrive with Purpose, I think, is Charles Schwab. Free Your Nurses is ReadyWorks. I think the Wall Street Journal is Know Your Source. They're saying that they have the best source of information to make better decisions for your business. Buy the Wall Street Journal. Know your source. It's a really good 3-word rebellion. It's a rebellion against misinformation and poor information. There's so much narrative packed in that. So, Rick, to everyone, rebelling against just one grip on a handgun. Okay, I don't follow that, Rick. Okay, this is a PG conversation. We're talking about babies and puke on my shoulder. No conversation about guns, or maybe I totally misunderstand that. So Andy Raskin puts forth a really clear way of positioning your company, and this is part of the rebellion conversation. Nancy Duarte does this as well. Steve Jobs does this as well. Here's the old, here's the new. So relative positioning is where you are basically saying that you're better than the competition because you do everything better than them. And your whole presentation is about why you're better than them. Now, I believe the positioning, if you're really selling an innovation, not just a better minivan, but really an innovation that's so much different than your competition, you should really be attacking the status quo, saying that, you know what, that just doesn't work anymore. And any company that is still playing the old game is eventually going to lose in a short order. But the companies playing the new game, and you know who did this really great was Mark Benioff from Salesforce.com. The new game was the end of software. No more software. Everything's in the cloud. And yes, that was the part. It feels like the rally cry to the business. The new game isn't the product, but we act like we're selling it. So Mark Benioff did a great job on that. And I don't know how many billion-dollar company Salesforce.com is today. Probably in the 4 to 4 range, I think. So why playing and winning the new game is a matter of life and death. So it's not just that you're better than your competition. You're leading a rebellion against the status quo because the status quo doesn't work anymore. And you're also leading your people to the promised land. That's what any good rebel leader does. So where are you trying to take your people? So type in the comments now. We are taking our customers to a world where ... So we are taking our customers to a world where. Type that in the comments, and that is describing the promise on where you're taking your customers. This also has to be part of your rebellion. So type in the comments. Would love to hear your thoughts on that as we move. So what is your rally cry in 3 or 4 words? If you think you know what that is, type in the comments. I'm only asking you to type in 3 to 4 words, but they are hard. Type in 3 or 4 words in the chat. What is your rally cry? And here's a hint. Your rally cry starts with a verb. It's a call. It's saying, like, do something, make something, create. It calls people to do something. All right, Ren, welcome, by the way. Ren, thank you for joining. Ren, on-demand nutrient purchasing straight to farmers. Great, so I guess that's what you sell. Perfect. So what is your rally cry? And that's a call to the change of status quo. That's not just like, work with us, we're the best, we're number one. That's not a rally cry. So let's take a quick look at what those great rally cries were. Just do it from Nike. Nike doesn't say, buy our best sneakers and best athletic wear ever. They probably do have the best sneakers ever, but they don't say that. They don't say their solution's the best. They call their people to be athletic, to be the best that they can be. And it appeals to a verb, the outcomes that their customers want. So I think you're appreciating the value and the power of leading rebellion for your business. And when you lead a rebellion, this company ReadyWorks is leading rebellion against paper. checklists for nurses and doctors. They should be using smart forms. That's the rebellion. And they're in their presentation and on their website, they're contrasting the old world and how it doesn't work anymore and the impact in the business of the old world versus the new world and what is working. Medicine X here is calling their patients, calling their customers, which are pharmaceutical companies, to make their patients partners. This is also brilliant because that's what their ideal customers want. And so, yeah, Kimberly Tableman, before, just real quick, she was leading a team of 12. They could not differentiate, failing to book new conversations, missing sales targets, and frankly, embarrassed by their homepage. After Effect, make your patients partners. This was something that the whole team got behind, and they ended up being able to close a ton more business as a result of the story. This is just recipe number 1 of 5. Lead a rebellion. I want to spend a lot of time on that, and that's why I did. If that makes sense so far, just type in the comments, makes sense. Stuart, a world of economically and ecologically responsible technology innovation. So Stuart, my critique on that is it's big. I would say there's probably 1,001 companies that could make that promised land description. I think that the more focused you can get on what that world looks like for them and how your product uniquely brings them to that place, it will be a better message for you. People will be confused if they can't tell you apart from your competition with that. Hardly any can make that claim. That's great. Okay, well, my bad then. 2, start with the problem. This is the second aspect of the recipe. If you can describe, and you may want to screenshot this, if you can describe their problem better than they can describe it themselves, your ideal customer, will automatically believe you have the best solution. This is so powerful. And I have to say, most of the customers we work with, whenever we get into a discussion like, so what is the problem that you solve for your customers? Inevitably, every single time, what we hear back is we provide a better solution that saves time, saves money, and is better quality. And I stop and I hear that. I'm like, wait, how is that? How is that solving what's the problem here? So that's not a problem. That's a goal. That's a goal that their customers have. So really unpacking this like suitcase, getting past your solution to putting yourselves in your customer's shoes, understand what their problem is, and being able to describe their problem is probably the most powerful thing you can do in the recipe of your marketing material, your sales deck, your presentation, your website. So let me just give you a quick before and after. This is a before situation. So, I'm going to put that voice on, creating innovative workflow technologies that drive. I mean, come on, schedule a demo. I don't think so. It doesn't work. Start with the problem looks like this: patience before paper. Now that sticks I would say, a needle in the arm or the hearts of CEOs of hospital systems that know that their doctors and nurses are spending too much time in paper and not enough time with their patients. So this speaks right to the heart of the problem. And, it catches attention. And it also here speaks to the transformation from the old world to the new world. So turn your paper checklists into your smart forms. So if you could look past the detail here into the anatomy or the recipe that cooked up this bit of messaging and website design, I'm sure you'd appreciate it. Smart hospitals use smart forms, and here it compares the world that has changed. The hospitals that do get it and do it right are smart, and they're using smart forms. And every hospital wants to be a smart hospital, but very few hospitals are smart hospitals. So this is a bit of a play on the biggest problem that this ReadyWorks ideal customer has. So if this is making sense to you, type in the comments here, makes sense. Makes sense is what I want to see before we unlock the next piece here. All right, so goals is an important conversation to have It's different than the problem, but it ties to the problem because these are the things your customer wants. And so just this is a quip X. This is a slide that speaks about the typical goals. But just underneath the goals are the problems, and those are the ones that are closer to customers' hearts. So you do need to have goal conversations on your website, but problem conversations, I would say, is not what most companies start with, because most companies, as we said before, are in love with their own solution, not in love with the problem. And the more you can really fall deeply in love with your customer's problem, be empathetic towards your customer's problem, your customers will get it right away, how much your solution is going to help them. So if that makes sense, type in makes sense, and we will unlock the next recipe here. So I just want to pause a minute. Thanks everyone for being here. We're going to come off of mute shortly and get your thoughts on really what's the one thing, what's the one takeaway you have here today that you'd like to implement. So don't have to answer that now, but we're going to get to that. So the secret weapon, I like to call it in the recipe, is a breakthrough sales stack. So I don't like to call this great marketing. I like to call this a breakthrough sales stack because I think marketing has become bigger signs, louder noises, promotional, and doesn't work anymore in a world where information is just abundant and everywhere. It's the questions that stop people in their tracks. It's the problem that creates the story gap and the drama. So a breakthrough sales stack is really because solution-centered marketing doesn't work anymore. So what is a breakthrough sales stack and why do you need it? It's sales messaging that calls your customer to the change they already want. So you're not trying to convince anyone why they need your revolutionary product or innovative thing that nobody believes when you say that stuff, but it is really a homepage and a presentation that makes your customer the hero of the story instead of your product. It is a choose your adventure presentation that facilitates collaboration. That even the best pitches in Hollywood are described by some as collaborations, not pitches. I'm going to go through the top 5 old way, new way aspects to the breakthrough sales stack right now. But as I do this, what do I want to ask you? Let's just jump into it. So the old way of your presentation was a 20-slide sales deck. Page numbers, by the way, if you've got page numbers in your sales deck right now, I can promise you that's not a sales presentation. That's a document or proposal, no matter what you think it is. And no one's reading it. If your presentation is white backgrounds, that's the old way. That's like people print it. Nobody prints anything anymore. It is one slide with 8 bullets. If you have a slide with 8 bullets on it, or 5 bullets, instead of, get this, one slide with one message, or 8 slides with one message on each slide, that is the new way. So otherwise, you're just basically showing to people your speaker's notes and dragging their eyes through it. So the new way is a choose your own adventure collaboration guide. And it's 8 slides with one message each. And I would say it's one message, but one conversation each. And actually, there should be 12 slides in total, but I'm just using a contrast. You don't have to have an 8-slide presentation. You can have a 1-slide presentation. In fact, I would say you don't need any slide presentation. You don't even need a website. So anyone would like to put in the chat here, what do you actually need in order to get business? What do you actually need? If I'm saying you don't need a presentation, you don't need a website, what do you need? Type that in the chat. I'm curious if you guys know the most important thing you need to actually get business. So my point here is design conversations, not slides, because you don't need slides to get business. You don't really need conversations. You need something really, really critical in order to get sales. The ability to establish relationships. Yeah, so what are relationships? Let's dig that in. I'm not going to give that an answer. So stop telling, start asking. This is really the purpose of the presentation part of the secret weapon. Turn your presentation into a collaboration. That's the way to go. So let me answer that question for you. What you do need is trust. You need trust. You don't need a presentation. How do you get to trust? You get to trust by collaborating. And how do you get collaboration yields a relationship that builds trust. So these are what I call the 12 essential conversations that every sale requires. And from doing literally thousands of sales presentations, I can tell you that uh, there are only 12 conversations that you'll ever have. So you don't need more than 12 slides for your sales deck. There's one conversation that's not here, and that is what I would like to call the trust, the rapport building. So it's the conversation you have about the weather or about COVID or about sports. I don't mean to make light of COVID, but it's just like, kind of the level setting human. We're all basically humans here, figuring stuff out on this planet flying through the galaxy. So that's an essential conversation to have. But for the purposes of creating a sales deck, you don't create a slide for that. That's why that's not here. But every one of these slides you see here, these bullets here, these are essential conversations that you need to think about. So you need to have a problem conversation, a goal conversation, how the world has changed conversation, how you are trusted, not just by saying your product is revolutionary, innovative, because no one believes that, but who trusts you. Are people like me working with your company? That's the trusted conversation. So I won't go into the 12, but these are the conversations that need to be in your slide deck. So number 2 here in the secret weapon of the recipe is your company. The old way in talking about your company is you're the hero of the story. You're in love with your solution. Your salespeople are so excited about it. Your customer service people are excited. Your marketing VP just loves your product. But that's the old way. The new way is everybody is rallying around the rebellion that you're helping your clients overcome to get to a better way of doing business. You're the helper of the hero. The old way, your marketing was using jargon and buzzwords that tells the story of how great your solution is. The new way is using visuals and verbs, telling a story of how great your customer can be. So if you think about it, if you ask people, what are you selling? We sell software. Okay, that's a noun, but that's not really what you're selling. Even if it's like a couch behind me, you're selling a couch. Are you really selling a couch? Are you selling what the couch does, the atmosphere, the energy, or the relaxation that people get, or the mood, or this lifestyle that people get? So you get the idea. That's the new way. Your homepage, the old way, it's about us. It's a brochure talking about how great your product is. The new way, it's about your customer. It's about their journey from where they are to where they want to go, and how your solution uniquely helps them do that. To the point where if they're looking through your sales deck, or they are looking through your website, or they're having conversations with you, you're getting a "that's right" from them. So I got this concept, by the way, from Christopher Voss, who wrote the book, ex-FBI hostage negotiator, who wrote the book called Never Split the Difference, How to Negotiate as if Your Life Depended on It. There's an aspect to negotiating hostage release that has to do with, and I don't know this because I've never negotiated hostage releases, but he talked about the importance, and this applies to sales, the importance of, with your adversary or with your potential customer, that they really feel that you have empathized with them, that you understand them, you really connect with them. And this is what salespeople do naturally, but what salespeople do not typically find on their homepage or in the sales deck is getting to "that's right." So the old way, you're leading with a conversation about your thing. The new way is a conversation about their problem. So just to recap, these are the 3 things, the aspects of a breakthrough sales stack, which is the third part of the recipe that gets you to double your sales. All right. So this is a quick before. Check this software. This is a company that sells. Talk about complicated. Sells emotional artificial intelligence embedded in a telemedicine platform that allows doctors to know better the emotional state of their patients. So post-COVID, doctors have no clue about the emotional state of their patients because they're meeting over telemedicine. Now AI can help with that. But this is what their website was about, like AI human interaction. And look at this brain with these wires and innovation and excellence. Like, that does nothing for the solution. So check it out. The after. First of all, the logo speaks to what this company does. It's like emotions and feelings that are captured by a computer recognition. So the logo itself captures what the benefit of the product is. And the focus, give doctors superpowers. The focus is on the outcome of what the product does. It's not in love with the product, it's in love with what the product does for their customers. This is really, really good marketing. And right underneath it, check out that transformation, turns virtual patient checkups into deeply insightful interactions. That's really great. This is really good stuff. And I think what they've used the recipe of the rebellion, empathizing with the problem, and talking to their ideal customers about transformation. All right, so if that makes sense, yeah, Chris Voss has awesome videos. He's great, by the way. He is one of my idols. He messaged me once. Never had lunch with him. I did ask him for lunch, though. I can't say I've been flat out denied, but it was a no response. Anyway, if this makes sense so far, we're up to 4 of the 5-part recipe. Type in "makes sense" here in the chat. All right. Good. Great. Thank you, Troy. So the 4th part of the recipe here is to sharpen your story. So think about every movie, like I've got a baby here. His name is Henry. And, every Disney movie that I'm going to see with him, from Beauty and the Beast to Lion King to Star Wars, every Hollywood movie you've ever seen has a typical hero's journey where there's someone that has to defuse the bomb, get the girl, and everybody, when the people, your customers are the heroes of their own journeys. They're building their businesses, they're trying to solve problems, and your solution represents to them the guide in their hero's journey. And making this shift that you're really a guide in their story, like Rafiki is to the Lion King. This is a hard shift to make, but if you can do it, this is where your story gets clarified. So Donald Miller has done a wonderful job in clarifying this story that is applied to business. So every business is telling a story, but most businesses are telling the wrong story because they're positioning themselves as the hero. So this is the archetype of the story. The world changes. The world has changed, and your hero in the story has a problem. Your customer has a problem, and that problem will cause impact to them, their business, their customers, their employees. And if they do nothing, bad things happen or will continue to happen. But perhaps they don't even know how bad it can get. But along comes a guide that really illuminates what happens if they do nothing in their story, and provides to them a plan and a path to get from where they are to where they want to be, and also lets them basically see the risks of doing nothing and the risks and the rewards of making the right change that will allow them to transform and arrive at a successful place. This is the archetype of great stories. This is already imprinted on our brains as humans, but most businesses are not applying this framework to their website, to their sales presentations, their narrative. So if you look at what's most important, clearly messaging is important, most important thing, because distraction is the biggest threat to sales. And those are polls that I ran on LinkedIn and found out what people think. Because the best product doesn't win, it's the clearest message, the clearest story that wins. So if you look at your homepage, I would say these are the 10 elements of. Thank you, Andy. No problem. Thank you so much for joining. Hugs, you and the family. Okay. The 10 elements of a highly converting homepage. Check your own homepage right now. Does above the fold, as Donald Miller calls this, speak to their aspiration? Do you then talk about their problem in a way that really empathizes with them? Do you talk about your credibility? Probably today. Probably talk about your solution today. Do you talk about how it works? Maybe. Probably, I would say 3, 4, and 5 are typically on most business-to-business websites, but number 1 and 2 are not. Social proof often is missing from sites. The plan, I'd say 9 out of 10 times, is missing from a lot of business websites, and that's the plan. That how do you get your customers? How do they get from where they are today to where they want to go? And also, if they're not willing to take the action, not just learn more, get a demo, and the action is basically to connect, contact form, then lead generators often are offering something in exchange for their email address. So that's there. if this makes sense, the 10 elements of a highly converting homepage, I'd encourage you to actually look at your own homepage and see what's missing and add those sections. So ReadyWorks, I mentioned to you ReadyWorks. Jordan, who's the CEO of that company, he went through and used this 5-part recipe for his business. And but before he did that, he was dealing with confusion. Customers really didn't understand what they were selling. And it was not a must-have. It was a nice to have. And so he wasn't selling. But after, they're definitely more than 2x closing their deals. Business is booming. Customers are showing up to their sales presentations, asking the right questions instead of just asking basic stuff that their website should have been telling. So this is what their website looks like, by the way, patience before paper. And I think you saw this before. All right, so if that makes sense about sharpening your story, just type in the comments, makes sense. And so just so you know, in 2 minutes, we're going to ask you to come off of mute, and I'll ask you, what is the one thing that you want to make a change in your own messaging using some of this recipe here? So number 5 is invest in expert help. And I think coming from the outside sometimes helps, because the story isn't about just making pretty or marketing. The story is your business. It's why you're doing what you're doing. And when you're inside the bottle, it's often hard to see the label because you're sort of lost in the sauce. So having an outsider facilitate this story development process allows everybody to get on the same page, better than maybe someone internally who may have internal or historical biases. So my advice here is, don't hire a marketer, hire what I call a sales enabler, because I think a lot of marketers that have been doing marketing forever and ever are doing it wrong. And I wouldn't want you to hire a marketer. I'd want you to hire someone or a team or a company that is focused on helping you sell. This was the before by the way, for EquipX. This whole maximizes profitability, blah, 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 to reduce your fleet costs. This is the number one goal that their customers have. And you can see the transformation under there. Turn your underutilized equipment into an optimized health system. So I know that you guys are seeing here, you should be seeing, like, what's the anatomy here? What are these different sections, and how are they speaking to the story that makes their customer the hero? ReadyWorks before says, it talks about a platform. Okay, everyone's talking about a platform, but ReadyWorks is selling just another platform. But what does that platform look like? This is the after. So this is an actual platform where bodies are standing on the platform, doing certain things, accomplishing certain goals. That's what visually helps people understand what a platform is, by focusing on the outcomes. So if this is helpful, then certainly type in the comments helpful. We're going to take you off of mute right now. So anyone, actually, if you'd like to come off of mute, that would be great. And just answer the question here. What you basically have a choice. You can keep using what you have. You want to make changes now. So what changes would you like to be making by Christmas? Who would like to answer that question? What changes based on this recipe would you like to be, or will you make by Christmas? Lay, so sorry to have to go, but bye. Take care. Thank you for joining, Lee.
Hey, Greg, it's Troy.
Hey, Troy.
Hey. I'm going back to kind of the rebelling against the status quo, because that's kind of where we originally started. One of the things that we're looking at, and you gave me some things to think about, is when there's people that are protective of the status quo, and those are the laps that you land on. So you're, kind of, how do you become a rebellion against?
Yeah,
it's
such a great question, Troy. And let's talk about that for a couple minutes. In fact, when you are rebelling against the status quo, you are a threat. In fact, your solution, let's just call a spade, your solution is a threat to their business. If you think about your customer's business, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I can tell you that anatomically, they have invested time, they invested money, they invested people, processes in their current way of accomplishing their goals. And here you come kicking down the door, all excited about your solution, your fancy pants solution. You're a threat, absolutely, to that status quo. So your question is really good. So your question is, how do I transform being perceived as a threat to the status quo
Yes, exactly.
to being actually helping them transform? Okay, there's a step that has to happen before you even talk about your solution. And that's the second part of the recipe, which is dig into the problem. The fact is, the customers that have invested all that time and money in their current solution, they have not recognized how the world has changed. They have not recognized, the people you're talking to, what's the impact on their business if they do absolutely nothing to change in 6 months or a year or 3 years. If you actually have conversations with them, because you probably know their business and know their challenges better than they do, if you're a real expert, you should have conversations with them about how much do they know about what's going to happen if they do not change. That's the entire, don't even get to your solution until you thoroughly vet those conversations. It's like trying to tell, someone to lose weight or, get fit or to, buy something that they don't even believe they need. Is that helpful, Troy?
Yeah, no, that was really good. I like that.
Cool.
Thank you.
Cool. No, thank you. So what is the, so I think I saw Thomas saying here, you need a full website redo. Yeah, no, for sure. It's a lot of work, but is there one thing that like actionable, that like your 3-word rebellion, for example, your hashtag? I think every business should have a hashtag because it clarifies really what you're calling your people to do that's unique and different from anybody else out there. And it could be the hashtag that you use for any kind of post that you have on social or any kind of like story that you're telling. It's rallying your people to the change that they already want that you can help them with. Is there anyone else that wants to come off of mute here and just talk about, hey, Jeff Cohen is here. Looks like, how's it going, dude? Are you there, Jeff? I don't know if you're on the mic. Maybe you're driving a boat or a motorcycle, but is there anyone else who wants to come off of mute and say, what is the one thing you will do by Christmas? Because I'm here in this, call it a mastermind, call it a workshop, call it a LinkedIn event to help you make these changes. Use this recipe. Anyone here want to come off mute? Rick, Tom, Tomas, what's the one thing you'll do by Christmas? Was there one thing that you got out of this discussion today? And I think we've got folks on LinkedIn here. If you're watching on LinkedIn, type in the comments here as well. What is the one thing that you got out of this? Tom Martin, how are you?
Yeah, Craig. Craig, I appreciate the conversation. I think the things that you talked about are really just bringing it back to some of the simple messages of making sure you understand what the use case is, what are the things that you're actually trying to solve, and orienting a lot of the things through the customer's eyes. And it's never about the technology that you provide. It's really about the outcomes that you're trying to deliver. So I'm not sure what I'm going to be able to get done by Christmas, but there's a lot of work that we're doing on that focus on really aligning ourselves around some of the outcomes that we're trying to help our customers achieve. So appreciate the conversation.
Sure. So Tom, what do you sell, and what's the number one problem that what you sell solves?
So we have a software platform that helps companies connect with their customers in the moment, in brand, be able to guide them through solutions. We're in the DIY world where you don't have that opportunity to necessarily get through a solution, and we also know because of the pandemic, you have lost those human connections, and So being able to insert those types of experiences to guide people through completing their taxes, to get some things that may be more complex, but also the simple things that you just haven't been able to figure out, like opening up a new account, finding how to complete an application, re-enrolling in healthcare, but realizing that digital tools are great at finding information. Humans are great at giving advice. And so when you can build a solution and a journey that incorporates those human elements, we provide those software solutions for companies to do it. And so for us, it's really helping companies reimagine how they're competing and differentiating in the world, because so often, as you've talked about, it's not product, feature, or price anymore. It's really the experience. Because when people describe, like,
right,
why do you go to the store?
So let me
like I say, Greg, where do you buy milk?
Let me interrupt you for a second. So what would you say, if we can just play here a little bit for the benefit of everybody? What would you say happens? What bad thing happens to your ideal customer if they do not take advantage of the innovation that you're helping them with?
Most often, they don't have the conversion. They don't have the growth because so much of what the human condition is humans take the path of least resistance. And we know that if you're able to create ease and solutions that are effective, and you're also probably most importantly able to connect emotionally, you have that opportunity to create that bond that creates lifetime value. And so if you don't implement some of these solutions, most digital workflows and journeys have a level of friction where people will navigate off to something that is easier, not because the product is better, but because it's easier. And so
right,
when you're able to provide a solution that's easier, that's what our customers face.
Right. Right. And I think, my advice to you based on what I just heard is, if you can clarify that in like 10 words, what bad thing happens if in 1 year nothing happens, that clarity is going to help your customers become customers, and not just, what, this is nice to have, but it's not necessary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for being open to my coaching on that. So thanks as well for joining this call. We're going to wrap up in just a minute. I just want to ask, Tom, Tomas, Troy, you guys have stuck through a very long session, 5:09, an hour and 10 minutes. So thank you. Time is the only thing that we have, only thing that I have. In fact, I feel like I have no time. So I appreciate your time. And if you have any comments or questions on what you're going to do, what your takeaway is here, I'd be grateful to hear that. Yeah, and of course, if we're not already connected on LinkedIn, please connect. Tomas. So I think we heard from Troy. I had heard from Tom, Rick, and Troy. If you wanted to come off of mute, sorry, Rick and Tomas. If you guys wanted to come off and just chat a little bit and say what the one thing, one takeaway for your business in this recipe, that would be great to hear. And I'm looking in the Zoom picture to see if you can see the puke on my shoulder from my 3-month-old. And I don't think you can see it, which I'm grateful for. But all right, so we're going to wrap up here. Thank you very much. Thanks again for the folks as well on LinkedIn. If you were watching this, I hope you got value from this. And we'll be seeing you guys. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah, Greg, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Sure thing. Have a blessed one.